Welcome, everyone, to episode 25 of the Thundercrafts podcast, where we forge through the shitstorm that was WCW Thunder. I am your host, a Palm Boy, Josh Kaiser. And joining me today, a man who's not as ugly as he'll be tomorrow, Kyle Hoagland.
Wow, we had a Rick Rude promo, and you didn't use either one of them, which is actually sad and not very surprising, I guess, this week. But what's going on, everybody?
Happy New Year to all of our listeners out there, Kyle. Can you believe it? It is already 2019, and we are still breaking down Thunders for everybody out there.
Hey, I'm looking forward to Happy New Year 2021 and 2022, 2023. We're gonna keep this gravy train going for a long time, I think.
At least for the 200 and some odd episodes that Thunder lasted. So,
or at the very least, now the amount that the WWE Network is okay with putting on their network.
That's true. Yeah. That said, it is July 16th, 1998. Kyle, WCW Thunder. We got a lot to talk about today, so let's just jump right into it.
And apparently, almost none of it is about Bash at the Beach.
No,
which is also really weird.
This is the follow-up. I mean, we had Nitro, of course, but this is the follow-up to the Bash at the Beach 98 pay-per-view. And we're live from Oakland, California, and Tony Schiavone's going to let us know it's him, Bobby Heenan, Lee Marshall, and we got a 3-hour special of Thunder, Kyle. What did we do to deserve 3 hours of Thunder?
You know what? It was everybody's New Year's resolution was they want at least one episode that they want us to go over that would have been 3 hours long. You're welcome. Your prayers have been answered. Also, I also find it very funny that after 7 months of having Thunder right now, this is July now. So we're 7 months into this, and the Thunder intro needs to be kind of updated, I feel like. There's a lot of things going on in here, like NWO Black and White Savage. You still got White Face Sting going on in there. You got Scott Hall wearing an Outsider shirt. There's a lot of things that I feel like need to be cleaned up. Obviously, the Giant is, I guess, I'm sure he's still capable of chokeslamming one of the Villanos. But I think there's a lot in that now that I feel needs to be cleaned up. And I feel like it doesn't. I don't know. I feel like I want to look at one of the older episodes of like 99 and see if it's all exactly the same. I'd like to think it's not. I feel like they do. I wouldn't say rebrand, but I think they do refresh the intro. I feel like they have to at some point.
I'm sure it'll happen. I just don't know how soon. But I guess we'll have to wait and see when they do change it up for you, Kyle. Let's just get right into the show. We open up with a post-Nitro interview, Kyle. It's a somber Kevin Nash and an even more somber Mike Tenay sitting in a locker room discussing the actions that happened on Nitro. And apparently Scott Hall turned his back on Kevin Nash, and we're going to discuss it, even though this fucking happened at the pay-per-view 6-8 weeks ago.
Right. That's what I was so curious about. They're like, this is apparently they were okay on Nitro. Once again, Scott Hall's kind of been off TV, except for like that first Monday after the pay-per-view. Yeah. So, which may have seemed like he didn't give a shit about Kevin Nash, and then he was off TV for a while longer. Then I think he jobbed to Goldberg last week. So
I guess it was last week, wasn't it? Yep.
Yeah, it feels like such a long time ago, but no, literally last Nitro was the Georgia Dome.
Yep. So Tenay's going to ask Nash, why he's been silent, especially after what happened at Great American Bash, where Hall turned on Nash, and Nash is of course going to allude to Scott Hall's personal problems as they kind of weave that into the storyline, saying he's going through a lot, and he thought maybe if he didn't address the situation, it would just kind of go away. And said that, to Hall, this is a business and it's all about money, and, they have different agendas now. And, he said that for a long time that they were best friends by choice, and that he spent more time with him than his own wife. And he said when we touched tonight, it was magic, which got a little weird.
It got cringy, sure.
But he said no doubt that Eric Bischoff and, Hogan have pushed him over the edge. and then ultimately he's going to end it by saying he's not a punk, and that was strike 2, and sometimes you got to teach somebody tough love. So that's kind of how we open the show, Kyle, and then we move into our opening bout, Conan versus Mr. L. Dandy. So when you got 3 hours of Thunder to break down, you know L. Dandy's going to make the card. And not much to say about this match. Conan came out, of course, does his usual spiel. The match is pretty quickly over. I actually, the timekeeper, the referees are timekeepers, and I blatantly saw Mickey J look to Conan and say, let's wrap it up, because right after it was the Cradle DDT and the Tequila Sunrise. It was 2 stars. It was a standard squash match for Conan over El Dandy, but unlike some of the more recent matches we've seen with Conan, I actually thought this one looked a little more fluid. It didn't look slow or sloppy like I feel like some of his matches have looked recently. So kudos, I've seen, it's an okay opening match.
Yeah, I feel like I still got to give it a 1 3/4. I do agree with everything that you said. It's still not. It's not the quality that I'm used to. What I believe that Eric Bischoff always wanted to have his shows start off with. Now I understand that SmackDown does not exist. He doesn't need to keep. He has the audience on Thursday nights, and maybe that's the reason why there isn't like a really high octane, exciting match to start the show. And once again, I do understand that El Dandy only spells excitement and fast pace. But I mean, we've been talking about the way Conan's kind of run as of late, where he kind of wrestles like he's a sack of cement. This was an okay match, but it was met at best. And yeah, I've seen better. Conan was over, but it was just because that dude panders so much to the crowd that I feel like when we were younger, we overlooked the fluidity of Conan in 1998 with the fact that guy just jumps around and yells and gets the crowd going. And I think that I liked Conan a lot more. 13-year-old me liked Conan a lot more than 33-year-old me.
I agree completely with all of that. Conan in 98 is almost like Jim Duggan in 98, but he shouldn't be.
Right, that's the thing. Like it shouldn't be where Conan's career and where he is currently with the company. Like Duggan has a very, and we'll see him later on, and Duggan has a very firm, I guess, idea of what his career and what his job and role is in the company,
especially at that point in his career.
Right, Conan is still a guy that if he comes in there motivated, I mean that dude can be a title holder still.
Right. Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the reason why I gotta give it a 1 3/4. I still feel like these guys didn't, and maybe El Dandy did his best. I don't know. El Dandy always brings his best. I just feel like I've seen Conan look a lot better than this, and that's why I feel like a lot of times some of these matches are phoned in.
Oh, absolutely. The next match of the night, though, Kyle, may not be phoned in. Lizmark Jr. is going to be wrestling Ultimo Dragon, and the commentary team is going to let us know that we have no more Thunder for the month of July because of the Goodwill games that are taking place, which means next episode 26, we're going to be lost again, like we were previously, where there was all this shit happen. Wait. So can't wait to see who's in the NWO now or not, and who's champion and all that. So we'll have to... Looking forward to episode 26 for that reason, if nothing else. We're going to get our first sign of the night, and it says, "We need Thunder Girls," and it was held up by a woman who was wearing one of those long white T-shirts that had the bikini, the cartoon bikini on it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Ted Mosby shirt.
Yeah, right.
I got you, dude.
So she was rocking that, holding up that she wants to be a Thunder Girl or wants some Thunder Girls. I'm not sure if she was what was going on there, but... interesting to say the least anyways. As far as this match goes, though, I thought it was actually pretty good. I thought Lizmark Jr. actually looked pretty good in this match.
Lizmark looked like an anti-luchador. Like, he did some lucha kind of moves, but most of his moves seemed to be very ground and pound, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of surprised by.
He had a lot of good holds, I thought.
Also, he's a lot bigger than Ultimo Dragon.
A lot bigger, for sure. At one point during this match, it must be Ultimo Dragon's arsenal is for someone to do like a lion salt off the ropes, and then he drop kicks him. Because he tried doing this in the match against Jericho, which made sense because Jericho does the lion salt, and it just did not come off well in that match. Lizmark goes for the Lizmark salt, because I don't know what else to call it, and he connects perfectly. I thought it was a great drop kick reversal there.
I thought he kicked him in the dick.
Well, either way,
it looked,
still a good reversal.
even Tony said that it looked like it could have been a low blow, but
He did.
I mean,
You're
look,
right.
the timing was correct. The placement was
and
questionable.
he made the connection. I mean,
yes, he did.
It was really botched in the Jericho match.
Yeah.
At some point, he's going to go up for a suplex. He being Ultimo Dragon, he's going to reverse the suplex into the Dragon Sleeper. That's going to be your match. I give it 2.25 stars. Like I said, as far as a lucha match goes, and you know, you and I both love Ultimo Dragon, and his matches have been pretty good so far on Thunder. But give credit to Lismark Jr. in this one as well.
Sure, I do agree. I think he did carry, and I actually gave that extra. I gave it 2.5 stars. A good performance by Ultimo Dragon, and I guess exceeding expectations performance by Lismark Jr. And maybe we're just not Liz Marks, if you will. We just don't know enough about his craft to give enough credit. But yeah, good performance by both. No waste of motion, no botches. Very fluid. But I couldn't rate it as good as this match was. I think 2.5 was as good as I can go without the fact that this match didn't draw dick from the crowd. The crowd was not interested in either of these guys.
Dead. Oh my god, dead silent in this match. It was almost uncomfortably silent.
Dude, I could hear them walking on the ring. Like that's how bad it was. If you can hear yourself moving in the ring and not being, I mean, obviously slams you're going to hear. That's the whole point. But if you're walking around and you can hear your boots just touching the floor, you know that I don't know what the crowd was into, but it was not this match.
I agree. After the match, commentary team's going to spend a few minutes discussing the fact that Bobby Heenan threw out the first pitch in the Oakland
Is this the
A's
first
game.
time we see them actually on the show?
I
this is
believe
the first
so.
time we've gone to the booth?
Yeah, they've talked a few times, but I think this is the first time you've actually seen him. He's got the ball there. I'd like to let everybody know that the Oakland A's actually won their game against the Royals earlier in the day, 5-3. And then on top of that, the commentary team is going to let us know that Curt Hennig and Diamond Dallas Page, of course, they did not have their match last week. They are going to wrestle tonight, Kyle. So we're going to get the rematch that we're looking forward to last week, right?
I mean, if someone told me that DDP was going to wrestle Curt Hennig, I would have been pretty excited for it, depending on how much time is left in the show, of course.
Of course. At this point, we're going to get our first replay of the night, which is from last week's main event on Thunder, where Penzer reads a letter that basically says Curt Hennig does not have to wrestle his match against Diamond Dallas Page because he had the world title match against Goldberg that Sunday. I don't think commentary team mentions it, Kyle, but I guess it's as good a time as any to mention that Curt Hennig does not win that match against Goldberg at Bash at the Beach. So.
What a damn shocker. And I like that it's so funny. Like they mentioned Bash at the Beach. They're like tiptoeing around it. And I don't know if they're still getting money from encores. I don't know. It's so weird how WCW does this there'll be one pay-per-view where they talk about everything involving the pay-per-view, and then they'll do like something like this where it leaves you completely in the dark. And I think we've complained about this in the past, where we as just Thunder watchers have no idea about the most recent pay-per-view that's not even 5 years past or 3 years or I'm sorry, I'm saying years, 3 to 4 days past. And so far, we have not really been given any results of any matches. Obviously, if that Hennig's going to be fighting DDP, if Hennig was the champion, of course, they'd probably mention something like your new world champion, Curt Hennig. Obviously, that's not mentioned. Hell, we don't even know who won in the DDP Malone Rodman Hogan match.
The biggest match that we had 4 promos for last week, we don't know anything about it right now.
Yeah, it's so weird, and it's just I know we're going forward. I'm kind of talking forward, but we don't find out in a 3-hour show, and there's not a single recap discussion outside of the cruiserweight title match.
And and I know Nitro is the first follow-up show, so a lot of it's going to happen there. But you'd think some of it would get mentioned again here on Thunder. That said, speaking of Diamond Dallas Page, he's in this next segment as he's in the ring to get interviewed by Tony Schiavone. And
no jeans, by the way.
No, you're right. He was wearing those him and the same pants that actually him and Malone wear in their tag match.
Right, those purple leather pants or whatever.
Yeah. We are going to get a couple signs here, Kyle. The first is going to say DDP Cutter, which I feel like is not. It's either Diamond Cutter or DDP. But they mixed it together. And then we also saw the sign DDP Bangs Guys. So
which is for as much we are now historians officially of Thunder, right. And that is not an inaccurate sign.
No, not inaccurate at all, and plays to the fact that we were talking about if the vernacular of bangs could be used sexually in 98, and we discovered that was in fact the case, and now we have fans in 98 calling it out. So good to see. Also in the crowd as DDP made his way towards the ring, did you see the guy? He was like an 8-year-old boy just doing the DX suck it chops, Kyle. He was rocking his...
he was rocking his NWO Wolfpack shirt, telling people to suck it. We're gonna see a lot of WWF stuff going on in the show.
It's just funny when you see 8-year-old kids telling people to suck it. DDP's going to get out of the mic. Of course, he's going to call him Hollywood scum Hogan. And then he proceeds to call him the limousine riding, jet flying, biggest arms in wrestling. And until he said the biggest arms in wrestling, I'm like, are you talking about Hogan or Ric Flair here?
Well, you never want to speak Ric Flair's name, because the moment anyone starts talking about Ric Flair, the crowd just wants Ric Flair. That pretty much happens every single time anyone says or mentions Ric Flair. I was first thing when you started talking about, I'm like, is he the kiss stealing, the wheeling dealing, biggest arms in wrestling? But right. I'm glad he brought it back to Ric Flair clearly does not have the biggest arms in wrestling.
And then DDP goes on to continue to absolutely kill this promo by saying, "Today is Thursday and I'm in Oakland." Which are just two facts, I guess.
Two of the most obvious things. Yeah, it sounds like a Conan promo.
Really does. He is going to wrap the promo up by remembering that he does wrestle Curt Hennig tonight, and says, "Curt Hennig, I'm going to get you in the main event, and you're going to feel the bang." So
see sign 3.
That's right. Following this up, Kyle, we're going to get Disco Inferno and Alex Wright, the Dancing Fools, wrestling Public Enemy yet again. And I had to laugh.
Spoiler alert, they also fight at Road Wild in a couple of weeks.
I had to laugh when Disco Inferno and Alex Wright were coming out, and Tony Schiavone mentioned, he's like, we've called them the Dancing Fools and the Dancing Dodos, but I didn't hear him say dodos. And I thought he called them the Dancing Dildos, and I had to go back and put closed captioning on, because I'm like, there's no way he called them the Dancing Dildos, did he? He did not. He called them the Dancing Dodos.
If you would have called them the Dancing Dildos, where is that the best thing you probably ever heard Tony say on a show?
Oh, I think so. Easily. I mean, now in 2018 on his podcast, he probably would have no reservation calling him the Dancing Dildos. But in '98,
yeah, probably. When you're gleefully employed, you don't call them the Dancing Dildos.
Right. There is a third member of the Dancing Dodos, and that's Tokyo Magnum, or at least
third
he's trying
man.
to be. Yeah, right. He's doing the Alex Wright dance as he follows him out to the ring. And Heenan, of course, drops some racist commentary by saying, "Love me tender," but with a racist Japanese accent, as they were talking about karaoke. Meanwhile, Public Enemy trying to get the cheap pop of the night, wherein they're rocking the Oakland Raiders t-shirts. And this, Kyle's where we're going to see our fourth sign of the night, "Haywood Jablomi," which just was a total shout out to the 90s when you'd have the old the names together to form a phrase like that.
Hey, props to Phil McCracken.
That's right. The Dancing Fools are, it's just a standard tag team match. Dancing Fools working the heel angle where, distracting the referee or distracting the other member of Public Enemy so they can get their 2-on-1s. Eventually, a table is brought into the ring, and this is where shit gets really weird. Tokyo Magnum is going to run in and pull Alex Wright off the table, and then he awkwardly shifts the table to its side while Johnny Grunge is basically pretending like he's in a Vader bomb position and not noticing that all this is happening behind him. And then he's going to Vader bomb off onto the side of the table and act like he just destroyed his knee. That is at the point where the referee's going to call the disqualification. Not so much that the table was in the ring or that he was going to Vader bomb somebody through the table. That was all okay. It wasn't even that Tokyo Magnum entered the ring and interfered with the table. It was when Grunge hit the table that Tokyo Magnum shifted. That's when the disqualification happened. And commentary team mentions that, tables are usually okay, but this is really just way too dangerous when you kind of do this with the table, which I thought was funny. Rocco's going to call one of them a son of a bitch, which made me laugh. As for the match goes, the match sucked and the ending was a clusterfuck. Star and 3/4.
Yeah, match actually wasn't bad. but the ending was ruined entirely. And also, you can also, once again, star and three-quarters, same as you. You cannot have a Public Enemy match and not have a table spot. You're asking for this to be a 1.5 to 1 3/4.
Hey, you had a table spot. It was just a really terrible table spot.
It's gotta break. Someone's gotta go through a damn table. Okay. Also, I couldn't tell if Grunge was actually hurt or just selling like he was supposed to if the spot happened the way it was supposed to.
I will say that's the one thing about it is Grunge, if he was hurt, it's a weird spot to get hurt on because you kind of saw it coming, but he sold it well if he wasn't hurt.
Correct. I feel like what was supposed to happen was Grunge was supposed to do the Vader bomb, but then Tokyo gets right out at the last minute, and then he goes through the table, but instead he gets it off early and then flips the table. I would have loved it, although I wouldn't have signed up for it, even if I was an ECW alumnus like Public Enemy. But to have Tokyo Magnum put it on its side and then have him Vader bomb on the side of the table, that would have been a really weird. Also, I actually would have loved the spot if he was down for it, but I wouldn't have signed up for it. And also, the commentary team talked like that was supposed to be the spot because they keep talking about how if you go through the table, that hurts and everything, but it's totally different when you're the side part of the right. table. It's a lot more dangerous, like you said before. But the DQs that WCW likes to call are so like one side or the other. You get one where, if he went through the table, maybe they wouldn't have called a disqualification, or maybe the ref would have called the DQ as soon as the table was broken. Like maybe he'd let it go until someone actually goes through with it. But then you'll have a match where someone brings in a belt and threatens to like swing a belt at somebody, and the ref just calls the bell. I think that was Sullivan versus Pillman. And back in 96 or 95. And so, like, it's just, it's so all over the place. And I understand Tokyo Magnum not being a part of the match and getting in the ring and moving someone out. Like, you really are interfering and stopping somebody from doing something to win. So I do understand the DQ in that regard. Still, though, the ending was definitely screwed up somewhere. There must have been some miscommunication. And look, it's a Public Enemy match. You got to have the table break.
Oh, yeah, definitely. After the match, we're going to get an interview. Tony's going to interview Dean Malenko. Dean's going to rock one of the worst shirts in the history of wrestling. Do you agree?
I do, but I loved Heenan talk about the shirt because he's like, you see those eyes on his shirt? Those look exactly like Dean's eyes. So I didn't like the shirt until Heenan totally sold it for me.
Right. Dean is going to talk about how he said, we all know Rey Mysterio won at Bash at the Beach. And this, Kyle, is we're going to get our second replay of the night, which is actually live footage from Bash at the Beach. So last week we got still photos from Nitro. But right. Here on Thunder this week we're going to get actual pay-per-view footage. So figure that one out.
Right, we can't figure out. No one can talk about the results of Bash at the Beach, but we're getting free pay-per-view footage. Now, obviously, it's after the match.
Right, it's not much. It's after the match. Rey Mysterio has won the cruiserweight title against Jericho. Dean Malenko's out there, and he's going to chase Jericho to the back. And when Jericho goes to the back to the locker room area, Arn Anderson's there, standing, kind of holding Jericho, sort of there, so Dean can get a hold of him. And then we're going to cut back, and Dean's going to say, Arn is here today. I need to talk to Arn today. I know he's in the building, so Tony, if you or somebody else see him, can you let him know I'm trying to talk to him? Which just seemed weird to me. But
it just seems like you're the one in the back.
Right.
Go find Arn and go talk to him. Hey, Tony, you know how you're not in the back ever? Can you go find him for me?
Or anyone in the crowd, since I'm talking to the fans or the people at home, somebody let Dean know I'm looking for him. Or let Arn know I'm looking for him. After this, we're going to get a WCW Saturday Night promo, which is nothing more than it's
Saturday
over.
Night promo.
It is done.
It's done. It's done. Put a fork in it.
But what is not done is this next match, Kyle. Roadblock wrestling Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We're going to get our fifth sign of the night, and it's up in the fucking nosebleeds, about as far away from the front as you can, or from the ring as you can get, and it's a fan with block letters that says Hacksaw Jim Duggan, ho, and they zoom up on this fan. It must have made his fucking night to see Hacksaw there.
Well, especially if he could barely see him. Which is a good thing he was fighting a guy like Roadblock. At least he can see the people in the ring.
Roadblock is going to be his namesake, as he's going to block the path of Jim Duggan getting into the ring. But they are eventually going to get into the ring, and as you can imagine, Kyle, Duggan is over. He's going to close on Roadblock over the top rope, which is going to get the crowd to go nuts. Of course, he's going to get the USA chants going, the usual. At one point, Roadblock is on the apron and kind of backflips over the ropes into the ring. I was actually impressed.
I call it the fat man lazy moonsault. Which doesn't connect. Yeah, I was impressed by the decision to make that. Now, I'm not so much impressed by the move.
Sure,
I'm impressed by that he was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just try this out, because that could have just looked really stupid, and it looked okay.
We're going to get a 10 count. I don't want to call it a punch. It almost looked like a 10 count hair tug.
He does both. He holds the guy, he holds him by the hair and does the punches. Also, he punches the camera in the process of this.
So Hacksaw just pulling out all the good pop, all the way to work out the crowd here. Eventually 3-point stance, Old Glory for the win. I gave this 2 stars, Kyle. This was a solid 1980s wrestling match if I ever saw one.
I agree. 2 stars, entertaining enough. We talked about there were some surprising moves by Roadblock. There were some, God forbid, agile spots by him. He got clotheslined over the top rope. Yeah. I think he went for a flying crossbody, not flying crossbody. He went for a crossbody, and Jim Duggan kind of ducked and opened the ropes, and he flew back over. So Roadblock was airborne a lot in this match, which was very. Well, I thought one of the funniest things. You're in La La Land when the commentary booth is talking about that Duggan pulled this off because of his prolific quickness. So, but they were talking about Duggan's just too quick for the guy, which is crazy. They also were mentioning, I think it was Lee, Stagger Lee Marshall said that that Roadblock is kind of compared to Hacksaw Jim Duggan as an inexperienced young man, which is really hilarious because Roadblock has been wrestling since '87 and is actually 2 years older than Jim Duggan. So well done, Lee.
Who would have thought?
Hey, when I hear, if I ever hear Lee talk about anything that he thinks is fact or fiction, I'm fucking looking that shit up.
As you should.
I'm making you're no Mike Tenay. I'll believe Mike Tenay, but if you say anything about a wrestler that I'm not sure about, I cannot take your word for it.
After this match, Bret Hart, we're going to get a Bret Hart promo where he's going to talk about he doesn't mind and you don't matter to the crowd.
My brain shattered when I heard him say that. We were giving Saturn credit.
That was always the Saturn line, dude. So did Saturn steal it from this promo?
I guess so. I don't think it's that much longer until he starts doing it, but I cannot believe for 20 years, I feel like you and I have always given Saturn credit for that stupid ass quote. And we find out that it was Bret Hart all along. It's like when Vince pulled off the mask and said it was me, Austin. Everybody just was blown away.
Yep. I laughed about that too.
And also apologies to Bret Hart. You actually were the one that created that stupid ass fucking quote.
Bret's going to pull some classic heel moves here where he starts to mention a bunch of faces, but pausing after each person's name, expecting the crowd to go nuts. He'll be like, I want to first sit out here and talk about DDP. And then nobody will say anything. He's like, and another guy, Sting. They kept, nobody was saying anything. And it was this crowd was just terrible. All in all, Oakland was terrible here on the Thunder. But they don't react about anything.
No, it wasn't that they were terrible. I just don't think they understood the cues. They were not a wrestling crowd in that regard.
Okay, that's fair. He is going to say he wants to ask Booker a question. So this is now the second time tonight we've had the racial stereotyped accents going on. And he says that basically puts out a warning to all of WCW and saying no one is safe. And at some point during this promo, he gets an egg chucked right at him, catches him in the shoulder, which good throw from whoever threw the egg at him. But he no-sells the fuck out of that.
Dude, mad props. First of all, I'm surprised you didn't say in your fashion, he got hit in the fucking shoulder with an egg. But he did not flinch. That dude just went on with it. This bumped up the rating of this promo, pretty substantially, because he did not say anything. He didn't even recognize that it happened.
No, I agree. He just literally no-sold it, and then he just walks off when he's done. And I was like, well, he's pretty badass after that.
Yeah, that was a very. I think the whole thing was, and it's perfect too because he is. I think that's what we're trying to kind of present Bret Hart as right now, is a kind of a real hitman. He's gonna hurt people.
So was
and
that?
I like
was
I
that
like
a
the promo.
WCW employee that was throwing the egg at him? Then was that part of the?
I don't think so. I mean, first of all, great throw. An egg is not an easy thing to nail because it's a soft-boiled egg. I mean, it's going to move around a little bit. It's not like a hard-boiled egg. Hard-boiled egg, I expect you to hit him right in the goddamn face, like a football to Lee Marshall. But it was a very good throw, and this is not like Stone Cold's.
Also, it's the only egg that
tosser.
gets thrown tonight. Like, who brings just one egg to a wrestling event?
Well, you got to think to yourself, how much can you get away with bringing into an arena? If someone's bringing a carton of eggs, I'm sure security's like, no, dude.
What are you gonna sneak a soft egg into your pocket?
Yeah,
Like, that's dangerous.
I don't think. Well, once again, this is '98. This is pre 9/11. They probably this is back when people were chucking batteries at Shawn Michaels. So I can see that they're checking pockets.
So I don't know. It's just a risky move because it could break in your pocket.
Well, once again, that's the risk that people are willing to take in order to throw it at a fucking upstart, intimidating heel that
That's
Bret
true.
Hart apparently is now. Jesus Christ!
And when he said that they don't matter, that was enough. They said, "Fuck it,
They're like, bring the eggs."
An egg. After this promo, Kyle, we're gonna get a Saturn versus Canyon match, which I gotta say is the first match of the night I was actually interested in. I was pretty excited that this was going to be a match. There was actually some, as you can imagine, with the match with Canyon and Saturn, there was a lot of innovation here, including at one point there was a bulldog off the top by Saturn that gets reversed into a suplex, almost like a German suplex pin by Canyon, which I thought was a great spot. Canyon's going to do his flapjack, which the commentary team wants to call the flatliner the whole time. This match, though, the ending is what's going to surprise me, Kyle, and this is kind of what I want to discuss more than anything else about the match. Canyon's going to get hit with the Death Valley Driver. Saturn's going to win with a clean 3 count. I gave the match 2.5 stars. I thought it was a good match overall, but I was really surprised that it was just a clean finish where Canyon loses.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing, and once again, not at the same scale. Obviously, it's kind of like when Brock Lesnar beat the Undertaker. Spoiler alert about that, for in case people don't know about that already. But it was one of those things where, like, okay, he did his move, but for some reason, I still felt like Canyon was going to kick out of it. Just or the fact that it was just, oh, holy shit, he just put his finisher on him, like,
yeah, or like Saturn Raven was going to show up or something. Like I really didn't expect it to end like that.
I feel like we were still building towards the end, and then all of a sudden the end just happened. So no, I agree. I said the same thing. I gave this, I think, 2 3/4 stars. Not a bad match. I don't like the fact that really there were no stakes of note for this match. I mean, both of them hate Raven, and all of a sudden they're like, I know they don't get along. I know they've had some history when Saturn was on the side of Raven, but he's not on the side of Raven anymore, but still doesn't like Canyon for the shit he did when he was on the side of Raven. I think also the crowd was very confused over who to root for. And the commentary team had no idea what the flatliner was. The ending was not exciting, and I think that's the thing that you and I are kind of talking about here. That it was quick. It felt like there should have been more to this match than just a standard finish, and I think that's where you and I both agree that this should not have been like Glacier versus Saturn, where Saturn just goes over in a normal, almost burying way. Like at this point, Canyon, in my opinion, feels like he just got buried because he looked okay, but he lost straight up. It wasn't like he didn't look particularly fantastic in the match, or like didn't look like it could have been anyone's match, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It looked like in the end, Saturn just kind of shook off whatever offense that Canyon had and ultimately just won.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, no, I couldn't say any better myself. That was just it. It was. I just feel like Canyon's been getting this push, and they just kind of let it just lose like that. I don't know. So we'll have to see what happens going forward with this. After this match, we're going to get Psychosis versus Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero's going to come out, Kyle. He's got a full head of hair, so It appears that Chavo, in fact, lost his hair versus hair match, which we'll find out was, in fact, the case. The commentary team's going to mention that Chavo lost and that he actually shaved his own head. So, which kind of fits into the whole Chavo being crazy thing. And as for the match itself, I thought it was okay, but I thought they had some botchy spots to this match. At one point, there's a top rope plancha that Psychosis delivers to the outside to Eddie, and I felt like Eddie did not catch him right, and he thudded hard.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Also, did you hear that the guy who just yelled "Eddie sucks cock" in the middle of the match?
No, I saw that in your notes. I did not catch that one.
It was towards the beginning. So I don't know if you're ever interested in rewatching a Thunder, but it was during the Chavo chance, kind of the beginning of the match, where Eddie kind of leaves the ring to kind of collect himself because everyone was chanting for Chavo.
Right.
When he gets back in the ring, all of a sudden you just hear somebody in the back be like, "Eddie sucks cock," and I was like, "What? Okay, cool."
Interesting. Yeah, no, I did not catch that. I might have to go back and listen for that. As speaking of Chavo, though, Kyle, he is going to come out in this match. His head is shaved. He's rocking a Lone Ranger type mask, and he's riding Pepe to the ring. And he's going to basically distract Psychosis, which is going to leave Psychosis, who looked like he was going to finish off Eddie. Instead, he's going to come out and attack Chavo. Eddie's then going to come out and attack Chavo, and there's a three-way. They're all kind of fighting everyone, which the ref is totally okay with. Psychosis is going to go to the top rope, and Chavo's then going to take Pepe and swing to hit Psychosis and totally whiff. And instead of just swinging again with him, he then just punches him and knocks him off the top rope. This is going to lead to Eddie dropping the frog splash. I gave the match 2 stars. Like I said, there were some botchy spots, and even the finish was kind of a little botchy. It was okay. I don't know. I wasn't crazy about it.
I gave it 2.5. Maybe I should rate it a little bit lower because the ending didn't end the way it probably should have. I almost wish that Chavo would have just went with Pepe again, but it was just funny that he swung and missed. He was like, "Fuck this," and then just hits him clubs him instead, which may have been actually for the best because God forbid if he swung and missed twice. I thought it was a good match. I actually liked the ending, but not so much the missing of Pepe, obviously. But I do like the crazy Chavo story. I think that's all this match was really telling. I don't think Psychosis or Eddie are, they have no feud going. There's no number one contendership. There's no, are these guys moving up in the ranks? This is clearly another story to further Eddie Guerrero and Chavo. But at the same time, it's hard to gauge this right now with where this is going because you can't just keep on repeating. Are they just going to wrestle every pay-per-view with another stake? Next one. They had a match where if they lost, he had to do his bidding. And they had another match where if he were to win, then he would be free. And then now he's losing his hair. It just seems like there's a lot of gimmicks involved in these matches, or at least some sort of stipulation.
But I feel like they've kept it fresh enough.
Well, they've been keeping it fresh because Chavo is just honest to God entertaining. He actually is kind of funny to watch. It's not like cringy or weird or anything like that. It's actually pretty funny. So Eddie's been a good sport about it and being a really good heel about it. So for that case, both of them are very good entertainers when it comes to this, and it's believable. So that's another thing I like about this.
Definitely. After this match, we're going to get our third replay of the night, which is just the interview with Nash.
Dude, they sold us on the fact that they're like, oh, we have more of that interview.
It was the same interview.
It's the same exact interview. They're like, hey, we have the interview in full.
It was the whole fucking thing. And it wasn't a short interview. It was 5 or 6 minutes. So we saw all over again. So
it's a 3-hour show. What are you going to do?
I guess, yeah. They're going to follow us up with Scott Hall coming out to for his promo, sort of kind of giving his chance to rebuttal what Nash had said. And he said, everyone saw that goof I've been carrying, say that I let him down. And, he said, it's all about the Benjamins, which I've lost a lot of, but Nash did not help me out. Eazy-E and Hogan were the ones that helped me out during this. And says, you can just call me medium sexy, the Nash killer. And then if says, "You want to teach me tough love? Look for the guy who's more handsome than 10 movie stars." So, just typical Scott Hall promo right here.
Look, it was just good. It was good to see Scott Hall.
Oh, I agree.
In the end, even the crowd likes Scott Hall. We'll
it's nice
see
to
that.
see him. I mean, you and I, we said early on in the early bits of Thunder, the first 4 or 5 episodes, Scott Hall was by far the star of the show.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely carried it. He was on every episode. He, for the most part, got the biggest pop or the biggest reaction to the crowd, where like they were glad to have him, whether he was a heel or not. I think they were glad to have him on the show.
Yep. After this promo, we're going to get a Cyclope match, Kyle. He's going to be wrestling Scott Norton. So Scott Norton's going to come out. The moment I
heard about this, you see in I think you saw in my notes, I'm like, I'm feeling this is a powerbomb and leave match.
It is. As far as the match goes, there's nothing to say. It is literally Cyclope tries to punch him or something, gets a powerbomb and a 3 count. But the only thing that's worth noting, Scott Norton, who we haven't seen in a little bit, the commentary team mentions that he's been wrestling in New Japan for a little bit here. And also, Scott Norton ditched the mullet, shaved his head, and grew out a beard. And I got to say, it's a much better look for him. Yeah,
this is definitely the powerbomb and leave mode that I remembered seeing of him. Not especially because before he would wear the bricks.
Yes, right.
And now he's dropped that as well. So
just all around a good look for Scott Norton.
Right. He doesn't need all that stuff. Like, he just needs to do what Scott Norton does, and that's eat, powerbomb, leave.
Right. You didn't rate the match, which I can understand, but I rated it 2 stars because I thought it did a great job of almost reintroducing Scott Norton, which I know sounds silly, but I thought it was a good way to do it.
Yeah, I guess I can go with that. I think the only reason why I couldn't really, I feel like this told a story more than had a match.
No, and that's
so
fine.
I think that's why I gave it the dud. There's a lot of matches where it's there for a particular reason to tell us something real quick about the person, and by the way, yeah, here's a 30-second spot of them in the ring. But yeah, I gave it a dud rating, but yeah, it did get the Thunderbird Slam of the night. So congratulations, Scott Flash Norton.
After this, Stevie Ray's going to get interviewed by Tony Schiavone. He's got the television title. We find out at Bash at the Beach that Bret Hart brutally attacked Booker T and hurt his knee, which Stevie Ray's going to kind of elaborate on. Basically says that he personally took his brother to the ER, and that Booker T along the way told him, I should have done it your way, big brother, kind of pushing that story that, Stevie Ray and Booker T didn't see eye to eye and how Booker T's been handling himself. So now Booker T, according to Stevie Ray, has changed it, realized he should have done it different. And we also find out that Booker T has signed over power of attorney to the television title to Stevie Ray while he's, rehabbing this knee injury.
Which is totally a thing.
Absolutely, yeah, totally a thing. He's got a signed note here, which he shows to Tony, which Tony isn't buying. And he says he's got a list of 10 competitors that Booker T personally asked Stevie Ray to defend the title against. In his absence. So tonight he's defending it against one of those competitors, Kyle, and it's Damien. So good to see Damien. He's going to get a slapjack for a 3 count. I gave the match 2 stars. It was a squash, but I liked the storytelling of Stevie Ray just being a piece of shit heel here. Kind of that taking Booker T's title and saying that he's fighting in Booker T's honor here when you could tell is obviously not the case.
I gave this a 1.5 stars. I don't know. I didn't think it was a good match at all. I actually would have liked it more. I would have liked it more if this was more of a Goldberg squash, where it was just don't even let Damien put offense, because Damien had some opportunities to do some offense and he didn't do well. He did like a senton that he kind of slid into. He did a missile drop kick that didn't look good. It's kind of like one of those matches. I think we talked in the past with I think it was. Oh, it might have been Cyclope. Now, more I think about it, it was Cyclope and Chris Jericho, and we talked about how Cyclope botched so much that Jericho was like, "Fuck this, I'm putting you in the walls," and just being done with it. Or I'm sorry, the Lion Tamer. My bad, WCW people. And we were going to judge that, where it just looked like, all right, Damien, we gave you a moment to look like you were going to put up a decent fight. We were hoping you wouldn't be like a Sumo Fuji type of person, but he kind of looked that way. And yeah, I had to rate it lower because of it. Fair
enough. After the match, we're going to get an NWO Hollywood promo. Out comes Kurt Hennig, Rick Rude, Scott Hall, and Vincent. Rick Rude's going to get on the mic and call DDP just a fart in the wind. Kurt Hennig's
I was actually thinking that's what you were going to call me at the beginning of the show.
Sometimes it's just too easy. You got to dig a little deeper. Kurt Hennig's,
speaking of digging deeper on making fun of somebody,
Kurt Hennig's going to say he discovered what DDP stands for, and it's Dirtball Dallas Punk. So good one.
What
Kurt.
year is it? Jesus.
Apparently DDP was in the USA Today, which Kurt Hennig's going to say he used to line his birdcage with, and he's going to say his bird was so constipated that it would even poop on the shit USA Today with page on it.
I'm shocked you could even get any of that out because
it was very difficult to catch this because Conan is just talking shit to Hall and on the mic, and like Hennig's not stopping. It was really like uncomfortably like awkward here the way they were talking over each other. But Conan's going to talk shit to Scott Hall, and then he's going to slap Kurt Hennig, who kind of leans over the apron, and that's your promo.
Apparently, Punk Mark Busta is something you don't call anybody because Conan called Hall a Punk Mark Busta, and like the whole crowd like went crazy like someone flipped a water bottle. So I don't know what that means. I didn't look it up. I was hoping maybe Stagger Lee would tell us what that meant later because he's hip and everything, but he did not. It was just weird that he just called it that, and there was such a huge pop. Like, oh shit, what are you gonna do now, buddy?
Yeah. So awkward promo there, but the match after this, Kyle, it's kind of a good one. It's Juventud Guerrera and Rey Mysterio Jr. Of course, Rey Mysterio was the surprise opponent for Jericho at Bash at the Beach. Beat Jericho for the title, but he's coming out without the title. We're not really sure the details. Apparently, Jericho got the title back on Nitro, but we don't really know why. The commentary team's going to let us know, all the A's players that were here tonight, but they don't show any of them, which I think is just weird. Like, if there's a bunch of stars here from the Oakland Athletics, you'd think they would show them to show, hey, these
dude, this was a point. This was a point. I wanted to bring this up to you. This was a point where the camera pans over to some of the crowd, and they pan over to the left, and all it is like 4 or 5 or 6 people in the front row rocking Stone Cold Steve Austin shirts, DX shirts, WWF merchandise, and you can just see the camera pan over to them and then immediately move away from them. Like, oh, shit. I just thought I'd mention that because I thought that was really funny.
No, that is funny. What was also funny was Heenan. As they name all these A's players, he mentions Gehrig was there too. And they're like, Gehrig? And he goes, yeah, Tony Gehrig, a guy who parks cars for the A's or something, which is just classic Heenan. As for the match itself, there's a bunch of head scissors here. I got to say, Kyle, I missed Rey Mysterio Jr., and especially this era of Rey. He's just so fluid with all of his stuff. It's just.
And keep in mind, he's been out. He's been out for months with a knee injury.
Yeah.
So this is his third match back.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Hoovie's gonna hit a Hoovie driver out of nowhere, which Rey Mysterio's gonna kick out of, which I thought was a little surprising. This match though is gonna take a turn for the worse as Bret Hart's gonna come into the ring. He's delivering chair shots to both men. He's gonna take out the referee. He's gonna put a sharpshooter on Hoovie. He's gonna do the figure 4 to the just recently operated on knee of Rey Mysterio Jr. around the ring post. Just despicable. He's going to attack more referees and eventually leave the ring. I gave the match 2 stars. I would have given it a much higher rating, but as Heenan asked at the end of this match, for what reason, in reference to Bret Hart, I want to know the same thing. Why did you pick this match for Bret Hart to come in and just destroy?
Well, first of all, it would make him look like overpowering and huge because he's taking on 2 people that are like barely 5'8". Which is my own thing. I gave this 2 3/4 stars. The match stuff was very good. It was a little repetitive. I think there was like 4 times where there was a head scissors by Rey. I think Rey is still trying to get himself kind of get the rust off of him because it was a tad slower than I think what we have seen in the past. But with these guys, they're usually a lot faster paced with their stuff. I think they were taking it a little bit easy because this is the first match. And not to take anything away from Dean Malenko or Jericho, because those are the 2 matches that Rey has had since he's been back. But Hoovie is a much quicker, much more lucha libre style, and I felt like they were kind of pacing it a little bit slower than I think that we're used to for the sake of kind of Rey getting his his sea legs kind of back into him a little bit. Not to take away too much from the match. Very random for Bret Hart to pick this match. I do agree. But this is what WCW is trying to sell us with who Bret Hart is now. And I think Bret Hart can easily look like a menacing person against these two people. I don't think he's going to go and take out Roadblock and Jim Duggan because they both tower over him. So he's going to pick a match where he can go in there with a chair, hit them both in there, and then just bully them. So I get it. And I don't get the randomness somewhat. I do like the story they're telling about Bret Hart, and I do understand why he would pick this match. Also, someone threw a tomato in the ring while he had someone's bringing food to throw at Bret Hart.
Yeah,
Bret Hart is attracting a lot of food groups during his time here in Oakland.
There's some angry vegetable or like just angry grocers here that do not like Bret Hart.
No, they do not care for Bret Hart whatsoever.
After the match, we get our next match, Kyle, is Barbarian and Hugh Morris teaming up to wrestle Marty Jannetty and Chris Adams. So when you got 3 Hours of Thunder, who are you going to fill it with? Marty Jannetty and Chris Adams. Yeah,
I was surprised and at the same time not surprised by, you know what, this was definitely you know what, fuck it. Throw him in.
The commentary team is going to let us know that Ming made his big return on Nitro this week, Kyle, and he attacked the Barbarian. And commentary team's also going to mention that Hogan did something despicable to Buff Bagwell, who must be back. We don't know what he did, but they mentioned it a couple of times tonight, but they don't ever go into detail, so I'm not sure what it was. Maybe we'll find out in the future.
I said I know what it is, but I obviously I don't know if we need to disclose it. Maybe they'll talk about another episode of Thunder. So I don't know. All I know is that Bagwell made his return back. He's in a wheelchair.
Yes, I do recall that. Hugh Morris is going to win this with the No Laughing Matter. Even as far as tag matches go, this was not an exciting one. It's 1 3/4 for me.
I gave it 2 stars. Nothing great, nothing terrible. Standard match that ended about the time I wanted it to. I did that. So to me, I like the pacing because I think by the time I was like, you know what, let's just get the Buddha Fear out of the way. He did exactly that. I'm like, oh, nice, thanks. I think that's why I gave it 2 stars because I think my brain was ready for this match to be over, and then it was over. So I appreciated that.
After the match, Ming's going to come out on the attack. He's going to take out both Hugh Morris and the Barbarian. There's a Tongan death grip for the Barbarian, and then he's going to chase Jimmy Hart to the back. So Ming is back and on the attack, Kyle.
I kind of wish that this happened during the match. Like this match, this was a throwaway for the most part. I wish that maybe around the time when like Hugh Morris is setting up for the No Laughing Matter, which also looked like shit. I think he landed on Marty Jannetty's knees. That's when Ming comes in. It's a DQ finish, and Barbarian and Hugh Morris are fighting off Ming, and it's just it just kind of throw the match out. I don't think Barbarian and Hugh Morris needed to have the win. I understand that they are the ones that should get the win, but I think it would have been a much more powerful statement if Ming came in to, I guess, be a part of the match itself.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. After this, we're going to get Tony Schiavone is going to interview Dean Malenko. He comes out. He's going to call out Arn Anderson, and out comes Arn. So Dean didn't need anybody's help. All he had to do was actually ask Arn to come out. Mongo McMichael is going to decide that he needs to be a part of this too, as he's going to follow Arn to the ring, and then he's going to jump on the microphone before anyone else could say anything and say he's been trying to work too long on Arn, and now he wants to hear what Arn has to say.
You almost fumbled with that as much as he did.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. Dean is going to say Benoit isn't here, but he's been trying to get Arn's attention as well. And then Dean's going to say, I never got to thank you, Arn, for getting me a job here. We met in Japan, and, he helped him get a job here, so thanks. And then he says, myself and Chris and Mongo, we all believe in you, Arn. We don't need you, but with you we could rise even higher. And then Arn's going to get on the microphone finally and say...
Dresses him the fuck down.
Yeah, he does. He basically says, you don't get to join the Horsemen. You were asked to join, which is great, except Mongo McMichael is a Horseman and was asked to join. So, requirements these days to be a Horseman are not that strict.
Step 1, be as good as Mongo McMichael.
And he talks about, he says, as a horseman, you wrestle hurt, you wrestle sick. If your grandmother dies, you bury her and you wrestle that night. If your son is burned, you leave him and go wrestle.
As soon as he starts, if your son, I feel like that was a true story.
I gotta imagine it was.
That was a very specific, he drops the iron or puts the iron on his foot and there's a hole that you can stick your thumb into. Yeah. You take him to the hospital, you get him bandaged up, you leave him with his mother and you go wrestle. That happened.
Yeah.
That really happened, I think.
Basically says Dean has not earned shit yet. And then he says none of them really get it, and he takes off his shirt and he's going to show the big scars that are, kind of down his back, and says, I want to live this, but this is who I am now. And he goes, just let it be, and he leaves. God, Arn Anderson can cut a real promo, can he?
He's one of the most believable people on the mic I've ever seen. He's got to be, in my eyes, one of the most underrated talents in the history of wrestling when it comes to cutting a promo. And also his ring work is exceptional. He's very good. So it really is heartbreaking that that's what happened. And my favorite part about this whole thing was he takes off his shirt and shows the fact that he's still in decent shape, or he's in Arn Anderson shape.
Sure.
And so he shows this is who I was. I mean, she shows the front of him hey, I'm a big, huge guy and I'm strong. And then he turns around and he's but this is who I am now. I'm dude, fuck it. Whoever wrote that, kudos. If that was Arn, who actually was who decided if it was probably mostly Arn, Arn does not know how to give a bad promo. And
he really doesn't.
For the sake that the guy has been out of wrestling now for, 2 years almost. That's insane that he's. Yeah. Or at the very least, I'm sorry, no, he's been out for over a year. I think it's 97 when it was 97 when he retired. Okay. Yes, that was what. Yeah, because I know. Yeah, either way, still awesome.
A very good promo. After this, Kyle, Pyros are going to shoot off, and we've got 17 minutes left. So I'm holy shit, are we going to get a long main event? So the NWO music hits, so here comes Kurt Hennig, but Scott Hall's name's going to show up on the screen, and out comes the entire NWO. You got Hall, you got Vincent, you got Hennig. Hall's also stumbling around. Is he trying to play off of the, I'm fucked up and I'm drunk or something like that, or was it just him being weird here?
I can't tell because that's kind of how he is sometimes, where he's just
I know that's I don't know.
He's always a person that whatever he's thinking about something, I feel like he tries to if he's going to talk about Kevin Nash or the Giant, he'll just start mimicking and just kind of act kind of silly. It's hard to tell right now if he's not, whether he is or not under any kind of influence right now. I would give it the benefit of the doubt.
Acting like he's under the influence,
right? Or once again, I don't think he needs to act it.
Well, sure. DDP's then going to come out, and while he's in the crowd, the Wolfpack's music hits, and out comes Conan. DDP and Conan are going to give each other the old too sweet, and we're going to head to commercial. When we come back, David Pinzer's going to announce that it's a tag match now for our main event, Kyle. So instead of Hennig versus DDP, we're going to get Hennig and Hall versus DDP and Conan. So that awkward promo we had earlier set up for this tag team main event. And we still have 12 minutes, so we may have lost 5 minutes to all that intros and stuff, and we still got 12 minutes for this.
Which is also, did you hear what they said at the beginning of this, where I think Tony says he called WCW teaming up with a member of the NWO Wolfpack as unprecedented. And I'm like, dude, Luger and DDP literally wrestled a couple weeks ago for the tag titles.
Right.
You dummy. They said this has never happened before. Oh my God, WCW getting involved with NWO affairs, and no, literally DDP did this. It wasn't even so much that WCW did. It was DDP twice.
DDP, yeah, right. The tag match itself, it was not. I don't know. It was okay. It wasn't very good.
I feel like we're underappreciating the fact that we had an actual honest to God match.
We did, but it wasn't a clean match. At one point, Kurt Hennig's on the ground and he grabs Conan by the foot and he just kind of falls over. It looked awkward. Scott Hall, Kyle, to continue to play off. At one point, he goes to the wrong corner to make a tag, and I don't know if that was him pretending like he was dazed and in the wrong corner, or if he's again trying to act like
No, he
Okay.
was dazed because DDP. It looked like DDP gave him 3 Stone Cold Stunners, or I'm sorry, my bad, Chartbusters,
Right.
in the corner, and then just went back to the ring. So he was like kind of disoriented by the attack by DDP.
Okay.
Also, holy shit, God damn it, Conan! This is the reason why this match wasn't very good. There were so many spots in here that Conan just straight fucks up.
Yeah.
Scott Hall tries to do his follow away slam, and Conan jumps the wrong fucking way. So then Scott just kind of catches him and then like holds him, and then says "fuck this," and then just kind of scoops him up and does it. And then also has a hard time doing the follow away slam because, like I said, Conan's a bag of goddamn cement. Scott Hall later does a follow away slam to. Also, he tags Hennig after that happens, and you can tell he like shakes his head like he didn't like what happened in the ring, like he's visibly disappointed. And then later he does the follow-away slam to DDP, and it looked great. Like, you give it to somebody who actually can do it right. But yeah, like there's just so many spots in here. Even Hennig tries to work with Conan a bit, and he couldn't do it. It just every time Conan was in the match, it just didn't click at all.
It really didn't. This match is going to go to commercial break a couple of times. You're going to get, the hot tags, the double teams, the whole thing. And then all of a sudden I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, there's like a minute to go. And this match has no sign of like ending. And then next thing I know, Hall's getting a diamond cutter on the outside, and there's a Hennig plex to Conan in the inside the ring. So the NWO is going to win this match with the Hennig plex. I gave it 2.25 stars, and I think it's just because they gave it a lot of time and you had a clean finish in a match that could easily not have. But I felt for such a long match, they rushed the ending, which is weird. I feel like they could have better utilized their time in this.
Absolutely. I actually gave this a 1.75 stars. This match was all over the fucking place. Conan looked like dog shit, both from a wrestling standpoint, where it just like he was screwing up on spots. And once again, I understand you make some mistakes, but Conan has been consistently not putting forth, either putting forth the effort or just not scouting correctly and just kind of winging it. But also just the way he came in fresh at the end of the match. Like, DDP was getting his butt kicked. They talked about, here comes a fresh Conan. He comes in there and like does 1 or 2 clotheslines, and then Hennig throws him into the ropes, and Scott Hall just kind of clubs him in the back, and he gets Hennig plex, and that's it. That's the end of the match.
It was really weird.
There was it's a really weird ending. I'm actually kind of surprised Hennig and Hall won. It's just, once again, I guess I'm just not used to either the DQ finish or having the crowd go home happy. That's usually what you're supposed to do in a lot of shows. You usually want the crowd to go.
I guess they might have after the show's over. Maybe they did something else where DDP dropped some diamond cutters in the ring or something. So
yeah, I guess so. I mean, and I also gave this a low score because there was a lot of my usual tropes of you're not the legal man, and there was a lot of no tags, but they were just switching out. Just the normal things that I've very prolifically have said that I can't stand. Like if you're gonna do a match, at least tag people in. Don't just like come into the ring and then just stay, and then the other guy just goes. I just wish that someone would be like, no, you're not the legal guy. And at some point they did it twice, which then I guess that means it's okay. Like Hall was the legal man, and then Hennig comes in without the tag, and then Scott Hall comes in without the tag, and I'm like, okay, I guess that just 2 wrongs, I guess, make a right in this sense.
That said, Kyle, that is our show. What did you think about our 3-hour special of Thunder here?
Oh my God. Well, 11 matches, which is by far the most we've had on any show. All in varying levels of either decency or dog shit. There were the one thing I did like, the promos were really good. I did like Bret Hart's promo. It was good to see Scott Hall back. That dude gets a guy gets a pop wherever he goes. Arn Anderson's that kind of promo on a Thunder, it felt like it didn't even belong. I felt like that should have been a Nitro promo where more people are going to watch it. God forbid, they're definitely going to replay that on a Nitro because they should, because it's a great promo that just felt like it probably was lost to the Thunder crowd. But for the most part, like one of the things that we always kind of like shit on Thunder is that there's not a lot of like good story progression. This one was where it did exist. It was very good. But for once in a long time, if not ever, we had all these matches. We had 11 matches, and technically no titles on the line. I am not counting Stevie Ray. Because right now,
Stevie Ray had a list from Booker T. He's the power of attorney defending that title, Kyle. He was specifically asked to defend the title against Damian. All right.
Well, either way, I'm not on board with that yet. But we joke about how Thunder seems to have like the cruiserweight title, the TV title, and the U.S. titles always on the line every week because the champions are there wrestling, and so just fuck it, the title's on the line. Right. This week we had 3 hours of a show, and there were 0 titles defended. I don't think that's ever happened. There's no Thunder for a couple of weeks, so I hope we don't get too much withdrawal from the fact that we just got 3 hours of our fix, and then we're not going to have some for a while.
Yeah, they definitely fed us 3 hours for a reason. I have to agree, though, as far as the show goes, it was weird. I mean, definitely, I agree with you, the promo stole the show, especially Arn Anderson. I mean, by far, one of the best promos we've seen on Thunder, if not the best. But I feel like we had 11 matches, but a lot of them were filler matches that just, I don't know, like it wasn't all that exciting. You had Chris Adams, you had Ciclope, you had Marty Jannetty, you had Liz Mark Jr., you had El Dandy, you had all these people wrestling that are like, if I had to choose a bunch of people to wrestle on Thunder, those aren't the names I'm going to put. But and then to your point about the title, well, I mean, right now the United States and the World title are both on Goldberg, and I feel like since he's won the United States Championship, he's maybe been on Thunder like twice. Like all of a sudden he's gone from wrestling on Thunder too, which I find it weird that even, he's at the level now where he doesn't have to show up. And just overall, Scott Hall, DDP, Kurt Hennig, the guys in that main event, those are the stars of Thunder this week. So
hell, Conan wrestled twice.
Yeah.
To the request of nobody.
Right. So I don't know. I hope, Kyle, when we come back in a month's time or next week, as the case might be.
So we have the power. Yeah, we have the power of time travel. We'll be back next week.
That we will, fans, and hopefully you'll be back here with us next week. And if you haven't yet, podcast listening device, go do it. Leave us that review. Let us know how we're doing. Give us that follow on Twitter. We are at Thundercraps there. We like to send out tweets, interact with the fans. It's always a lot of fun there. And you can always go to thundercraps.com for all of our previous episodes. And go check out the August 5th, 1998 edition of Thunder. Of course, that'll be Thunder 26, and we'll see what the fuck is going on and how confused we'll be and who will be champion and who won't and where will everyone be. It's going to be fun. So for Kyle Hogan, I am Josh Kaiser, and we will see you next time on the Thunder Craps Podcast.
We are Rub Me Renderly out of time. See ya.